In the early 1990s, Malaysia became captivated by a woman who seemed larger than life. She was a singer, a spiritual healer, and a self-proclaimed practitioner of mystical rituals. To some, she offered hope and power. To others, she was a dangerous manipulator. But when a prominent politician suddenly disappeared after visiting her home, the truth that emerged would shock the nation. This is the story of Mona Fandey, and one of Malaysia's most infamous murder cases. Born Maznar Ismail, Mona Fandey first pursued a career in music. Although she released several albums and sought fame in the entertainment industry, commercial success remained limited. Over time, Mona reinvented herself. Together with her husband, Mod Afandi Abdul Rahman, she entered the world of traditional healing and spiritual services. The couple claimed to possess supernatural abilities. Their reputation grew, attracting businessmen, wealthy clients, and even politicians who sought guidance, protection, and success. Among those clients was a rising political figure from Pahang. His name was Mazlan Idris. He would soon become the center of a tragedy that would forever change Malaysian criminal history. Mazlan Idris was a state assemblyman in Pahang. Ambitious and politically active, he reportedly believed that spiritual assistance could help strengthen his career and influence. According to court testimony, Mona Fandey and her associates convinced him that special rituals could bring greater success, wealth, and power. For months, he maintained contact with the group. Then, on July 2, 1993, Mazlan traveled to their residence near Raub, Pahang. He expected to participate in another ritual. Instead, it would be the last time he was ever seen alive. After meeting Mona Fandey and her associates, Mazlan Idris vanished. Days passed with no contact. Family members and colleagues became increasingly concerned. A missing person investigation was launched. As investigators retraced Mazlan's final movements, all roads seemed to lead back to Mona Fandey's property. Police began examining the events surrounding the politician's final known meeting. What they uncovered transformed a missing person case into one of the most disturbing criminal investigations Malaysia had ever witnessed. Evidence suggested that the disappearance had not been accidental. Authorities now believed they were dealing with a carefully planned crime. Investigators focused their attention on Mona Fandey, her husband Mod Afandi, and their assistant, Juraimi Hussain. Witness statements, financial records, and physical evidence painted an increasingly troubling picture. Authorities alleged that Mazlan Idris had been lured to the property under the promise of a spiritual ritual. Investigators also discovered that large sums of money had reportedly changed hands before his disappearance. As evidence mounted, police arrested all three suspects. The arrests dominated newspaper headlines across Malaysia. The public was fascinated by the unusual combination of politics, spirituality, money, and murder. Soon, the case would move to the courtroom. The trial attracted enormous media attention. For years, Malaysians closely followed every development. Prosecutors argued that the crime had been carefully orchestrated for financial gain. The defense challenged the allegations, but the evidence presented in court proved compelling. In 1997, the High Court found Mona Fandey, Mod Afandi Abdul Rahman, and Juraimi Hussain guilty of murder. All three were sentenced to death. The verdict brought an end to one of the country's most sensational criminal trials. Yet public fascination with the case never truly disappeared. Even decades later, the Mona Fandey case remains deeply embedded in Malaysian true crime history. The Mona Fandey case is more than a story about crime. It is a story about ambition, belief, trust, and manipulation. A case where promises of power and success ended in tragedy. More than 30 years later, it remains one of the most infamous criminal cases Malaysia has ever seen. And a reminder that sometimes, the most dangerous threats come disguised as hope.